Hello again from Buffalo. Last night, the 49ers' season of hell froze over. That picture right there from the article on the San Francisco Standard encapsulates the frustration not only of last night, but of the 49ers' entire season. You could take a closer look. Christian McCaffrey is being pulled down by his foot. That's Taylor Rapp, the safety out of Washington. The difference between a potentially season-saving tackle or season-saving touchdown for Christian McCaffrey and a potentially season-ending injury for Christian McCaffrey is a shoestring tackle. Absolutely brutal for the 49ers. There was another very narrow margin play later on when Kyle Juszczyk fumbled at the goal line. That was obviously a huge swing in this game, prevented the 49ers from having any real shot of getting back into it. But I think that it was largely emblematic of the 49ers' struggles throughout this entire season from hell. You see, the 49ers have that painful Christian McCaffrey duality, and he's probably going to be done for the season now. It's a PCL injury, MRIs today. We will see the final word on Christian McCaffrey when Kyle Shanahan speaks on his conference call, probably happening around 3:30 Pacific time. But when you go to the Kyle Juszczyk play, and it's not just the Juszczyk play, that's very representative of so many different 49ers problems near the goal line this year. They've dropped from number 1 in red zone offense to number 27 in red zone offense, and they've dropped from number 11 in red zone defense to number 31 in red zone defense. Their biggest problem has been finishing this season on both sides of the ball. They were an elite team finishing offensively last year, and they were a very good team finishing defensively last year and years prior to that. They've been bottom barrel on both sides of the football. When finishing is as big of an issue as it is for the 49ers, and a lot of the players are the same. I get it that there have been some injuries, and that obviously factors into things too. But when you see such a precipitous decline in finishing power, you immediately look at the root cause behind it and you say, this is a fatigue issue. This team is physically tired, spiritually tired, emotionally tired. The journey to this point for the 49ers has set the table for total exhaustion. I probably don't have to rehash all that the 49ers have been through, but maybe we do anyway. I don't know how many first-time viewers we have here, but you go 60 games in 3 seasons. And unlike the Kansas City Chiefs, who finished 2 of those seasons, the Chiefs also played that many games, but they finished with Super Bowls. They got that spiritual boost from winning the Super Bowl. The 49ers have come up painfully short. There has been no extra wind at their sails. It's just been devastating defeats at the end of these seasons. So the 49ers entered this season badly needing a youth infusion, a boost of youthful energy to fortify the star power that they have on their team. And I think that they've gotten a little bit of that with the 2024 draft class, which is on the top third of this draft history for San Francisco. But as you can see, 2022 and 2023, aside from the guy at the very, very bottom of this, it's Brock Purdy, the 7th round pick in 2022, have not given them what they need. So when the star power starts getting hurt, and the 49ers have seen a ton of that, that was obviously a massive, massive issue, not just yesterday, but throughout the course of most of this season. But yesterday, it was the story of the game, right? You arrive without Nick Bosa, without Trent Williams, without several others. Brock Purdy's coming off the shoulder injury, and then you lose Christian McCaffrey in the second quarter after a sensational start to the game. When that's happening, when the fatigue and the exhaustion has caught up to the core of star players, you need the younger players to step in and keep the line moving. And when only a third of this draft list has shown the type of promise that the 49ers need from draft classes, and it's the most recent one, 2024, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble when stuff hits the fan like it did for the 49ers over the course of this 2-game losing streak in cold weather. Outscored 73-20 by the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills. We said that this cold weather stretch was going to be really tough for the 49ers entering it. The people acting like it's, shocking and somehow revelatory that the 49ers got beaten badly last night. I mean, what rock had you been living under? I predicted the 49ers to lose by multiple possessions in the game yesterday. What I thought with San Francisco was that the loss was predictable, but the total defensive collapse yesterday was what was truly alarming. I mean, the bottom totally fell out defensively in a way that I think that even a team that is exhausted, even a team dealing with the type of injuries that the 49ers were dealing with, should not experience. That, to me, is the really alarming part of this, not the loss. I think that the writing was on the wall in both of these games on the road trip, Green Bay and Buffalo, after the game against Seattle, which was another hallmark example of struggles to finish for the 49ers, right? They had the lead against the Seahawks. They couldn't cross the finish line. They blew the fourth quarter lead. And then it turned into a situation where the 49ers had to absolutely win one of these two, Green Bay or Buffalo, but because they lost the home game to the Seahawks, because they lost the home game to the Arizona Cardinals, because they lost to the Rams in week 3, all of those were blown fourth quarter leads. They put themselves in a really, really difficult position of having to beat a damn good football team on the road in cold weather, whether it be the Packers or the Buffalo Bills. And they didn't get it done. So there's no reason to, toss your arms up in there and be like, why the hell didn't they beat the Packers or the Bills? And that was baked into the odds. They were underdogs in both of the past 2 games, especially without Brock Purdy and Green Bay. But their struggles to finish early in the season put them into position to where essentially one of these was a must-win game, and obviously the 49ers didn't get either one. But the themes are the same, and I think that the culmination of this season of torture, season of hell, inability to finish, fatigue catching up with the 49ers, the culmination just happened to come under icy conditions where hell throws over for the 49ers. So we're going to talk about the potential way forward for the 49ers, how they have to strategize to get this back on track. We're not just talking 2024. I'm talking 2025 and beyond. I mean, there's some reactionary knee-jerk takes, as there always are. The point is to be rational. The point is to see what the 49ers have built, to see the flaws in what the 49ers have built as well. And that's what I take a look at on essentially a daily basis when I chart the roster for you, when we look at the old draft picks. I can also pop open the depth chart. We'll take a look at this game in Buffalo on a position by position level. And we'll talk about how the 49ers can move forward. I think there are some lessons to be taken from the Philadelphia Eagles last year, who collapsed down the stretch, who had some serious issues that I don't think their coaching staff had its fastball down the stretch last season. Obviously, roster-wise, that they started to become depleted by the very end. But in many ways, the Eagles had lost their mojo. Now you fast forward to 2024. They've won 8 straight games. They've definitely rediscovered their mojo. They beat the Ravens on the road yesterday, and they're on their way to challenging the Detroit Lions in the NFC. I would even argue that the Eagles are trending in the right direction, while the Lions might not be trending in the right direction, given all the injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The point is that this is a league where things can turn around really quickly. The 49ers should know that better than anyone. In 2018, they went 4-12. In 2019, they were by far the best team in the NFC. As long as you have your quarterback in place, and I don't think there should be any doubts about Brock Purdy. I mean, he's one of the few that actually showed up to play yesterday, as evidenced by him playing safety, chasing a cornerback, Christian Benford, downfield to make the touchdown-saving tackle. As long as you got that quarterback position in place, if you build a team around that spot with the requisite combination of energy and talent, right? And the energy aspect of this is so important because of the fatigue that the 49ers have obviously faced, the decay that they've seen, again, physically, emotionally, spiritually of the star core. But if you surround that quarterback position with the right mix, kind of like the Buffalo Bills have been able to do, I mean, that's a fantastic team that we saw on the field in the snow in Buffalo last night. If you're able to do that, then you can turn things around very, very quickly. So there's a lesson to be gleaned from both the Philadelphia Eagles, who are able to revamp things, turn things around from 2023 to 2024. And there's a lesson to be learned from the Buffalo Bills, the team that beat the 49ers and won the AFC East championship yesterday. By the way, behind the scenes look, this is a time lapse. This is how, whenever they came back from commercial break on Sunday Night Football, you saw the yard lines again last night. This was one of the cooler scenes of my career covering the NFL. I covered the Snow Globe game in Green Bay when the 49ers won in the postseason. That was the January 22 NFC divisional playoff. But it didn't start snowing until the end of that game. So I didn't really get to experience the whole snow removal thing. Showing up at Buffalo yesterday, it felt like I was driving up to Tahoe or something. It gave total ski resort blizzard vibes. And then, I mean, everything that they had to do to make this event run was phenomenal. The efficiency of the snow removal was cool. We saw fans have to dig out their own seats at the start of the game. That was crazy early in the game. But the whole yard line thing in between the breaks was a lot of fun to watch in Buffalo. And then obviously the Bills had a good time doing some snow angels. I think it was Josh Allen with the snow angels after they won the AFC East title. You know, with Allen, I just find it so ironic that it's a California kid from the Central Valley where it doesn't snow. It snowed once in my time growing up in the Central Valley. And we woke up and we were shocked by it. There were like 2 feet of snow outside. I think it was 1999. Those of you from the Central Valley probably remember that. Josh Allen might be too young to remember that. But anyway, the perfect specimen to deal with the Buffalo snow and the lake effect wind is a former 49ers fan from the Central Valley. And he's the one that, and along with his team, that probably dealt the 49ers the knockout punch yesterday. Check this out on the San Francisco Standard. I wrote about the season from hell freezing over, and now we're going to talk about the 49ers' potential way out of this, as they obviously are going to start looking forward to 2025 now from a roster perspective. The Christian McCaffrey PCL injury puts the 49ers in a position where they're probably not going to be able to turn to McCaffrey at all again this season. And I mean, be frustrated all you want. Christian McCaffrey was fully back up to speed yesterday. I think that the main variable in that was the 49ers run blocking finally started to figure some things out. But as the fortune of a torturous season would have it, Christian McCaffrey was a step away from busting through for his first touchdown of this 2024 season, and he got hurt on that tackle from Taylor Rapp. There's a misconception that McCaffrey got hurt on the play where he slid down. No, he got hurt on this play, and then, probably is trying to will the injury away. I totally understand it from Christian McCaffrey's perspective. It's been a frustrating several months. You're dealing with the Achilles and the calf injury. You're fighting to get back, and then you do get back, and finally the offensive line starts blocking for you the way that they were blocking for you in the past, and you're about to break through for a touchdown, and Taylor Rapp gets you by a shoestring, and you hurt yourself, but you just try to tune that out. You try to say, wait, this didn't actually happen. You try to get in there on your next carry, and you try to will that injury away. But as soon as McCaffrey got the football, he realized that the knee was not in position to do what he needed it to do. So he wisely slid down, surrendered, gave himself up, jogged to the sideline, and back into the locker room. And that was all that we'd see of Christian McCaffrey in this game against Buffalo. Anyway, as you can see, the painful duality That tackle is the difference between a potential season-saving touchdown and a potential season-ending injury for Christian McCaffrey. That being said, even if Christian McCaffrey had scored that touchdown, the 49ers, this is the box score yesterday, this is the game book. That was one of the most atrocious defensive performances I've ever covered. And it came on the heels of one of the most atrocious defensive performances that I've ever covered. This was bad from the 49ers defense. Offensively, you could talk about the Kyle Juszczyk fumble at the goal line, and then, of course, you could go into the snow and how all that affected the 49ers. Snow should slow down offenses. It did not slow down Buffalo's offense. And I think that's more of an indictment of the 49ers' extremely poor defensive play than anything else. They hardly blitzed yesterday. They didn't bring anything creative to disrupt Josh Allen. They didn't bring anything creative to disrupt the Buffalo run game. I talked to Jair Brown in the locker room after this one, and he said that, from James Cook, the big 65-yard touchdown run, he said that Buffalo has shown that look several times on tape, yet the 49ers still weren't ready for it. There was a lot of talk about snow caking into the 49ers cleats and that making it hard to move, but Buffalo seemed to have no trouble moving against the 49ers. 125 rush yards for Green Bay in the first half last week, which was an abominable performance from the 49ers defense. 142 rushing yards for Buffalo in the first half yesterday, so it was even worse. Bills were 4 of 5 on their first 5 third downs, including third and longs. 49ers notched a 3-and-out to start the game, right? Then they looked to have a second 3-and-out, but Charvarius Ward committed an illegal contact penalty. And this is what's really, really concerning to me. The minute that Charvarius Ward committed that illegal contact penalty, the 49ers defense totally collapsed. They went from being this close to notching 2 3-and-outs to begin the game to completely collapsing and giving up 7 yards per rush on the game against the Buffalo starters. Nearly 10 yards per rush in the first half. This is professional football. That shouldn't happen in high school ball. But it happened to the 49ers, and it all came barreling down like the avalanche. And we talk about snow, so I guess it's a good metaphor. The avalanche happened after just one penalty. The 49ers so fragile defensively right now that one penalty can completely derail what's happening. I mean, there isn't any resilience with this team. And it goes back to finishing, and it goes back to fatigue. I get it, but it can't be as bad as it was for the 49ers yesterday. You can't possibly tell me, and I guess you can because the evidence shows that this is the case, but can't tell me that Nick Bosa is that important to the 49ers defense, and a healthy Fred Warner is that important to the 49ers defense. I mean, they are so reliant on the star power at just those positions because you can see everything has fallen off a cliff ever since Nick Bosa got hurt in the second half of that game against Seattle. So they're so reliant on this star power, and that they have nothing left in terms of resilience, in terms of performance beyond those players. And Warner was out yesterday as well on the long touchdown with cramps. He's been dealing with a broken ankle. So here you have the stars at the very top of the heap of the 49ers defense doing what they can. Nick Bosa was playing through his injury until he couldn't anymore. Fred Warner's been playing on the broken ankle, but he's not 100%. They're doing what they can to keep this defense afloat, but it's not enough, obviously. And the fact that everything came tumbling down after just one illegal contact penalty, the fact that they weren't competitive against the run yesterday, those are the alarming things that the 49ers are going to have to completely retool this offseason. Nick Sorensen still the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. The point of getting rid of Steve Wilkes was to improve the run defense, which tumbled from number 1 to number 26 last year. I mean, they went from a top-tier run defense to one of the worst run defenses in the league. Unfortunately for the 49ers, the run defense has not gotten any better. And I'm going to have the exact EPA rank of the run defense for you right now. I'm curious to know if it's below number 27 now after what Buffalo did to the 49ers yesterday. I would actually expect it to be. The 49ers quite simply, like every NFL team, the goal is to play a game on your terms. So with the 49ers, they have a solid secondary, good pass coverage, right? We've seen that this year. They have some talent there on the back end when it comes to pass defense, especially at the cornerback position. But if you can't get opposing quarterbacks to have to battle you on that field, right? That needs to be the point of the fight. It needs to happen in terms of pass defense. But if you play such poor run defense that you can never get to that point, it's all moot. And the 49ers run defense this year ranks number 28. So I was right. They have now regressed beyond where they were last season at number 26. It is the number 28 run defense in football. The only worst run defenses in football are the Bengals, the Saints, the Panthers, and the Cowboys. Those are all bad teams. I could get this up on the screen for you so you could see with your own eyes from Ben Baldwin's site. I mean, when those are the types of teams underneath you, it is not good. So this is sorted by run defense. Minnesota's at the very top. Philadelphia, these are all good teams in the top 5. Minnesota, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Detroit, Kansas City. All of those teams are going to be headed to the playoffs. Good run defenses. Then we scroll down to the very bottom of the league. Look at this. The 49ers are number 28 in terms of run defense. So they were, just a couple seasons ago, this was the best run defense in football under DeMeco Ryans. Then Steve Wilks came and the 49ers dropped to number 26. Now they've dropped even further to number 28. And a big part of the reason that they fired Steve Wilks was because the run defense was not putting the 49ers on the platform to rush the passer. Cincinnati's getting an awesome year from Joe Burrow, but they're losing a ton of games. Why? They cannot control game flow with their run defense. The New Orleans Saints, bad run defense. The Panthers, terrible team, bad run defense. Cowboys, terrible team, bad run defense. 49ers lumped in with all those teams, even worse than the 2 New York teams, who obviously are bad as well. So, I mean, it was as simple as that yesterday. The final totals for the Buffalo Bills rushing the football. I have the Seattle Seahawks box score right now. I have the wrong one. It doesn't even matter. I have a lot of these stats in my head, and I have one down at the bottom of the screen. 7 yards per carry, 7 yards per play in the snow just cannot happen. I mean, even without Bosa and without a healthy Fred Warner, without no Diamond Lenore in this game, they were playing Nick McLeod on first and second downs at the nickel spot, and then on third down, they were shifting Renardo Green in there, more pass-heavy situations. Nothing was working. You have to be able to manufacture some sort of confusion from a defense with a vanilla palette of talent. I mean, you have to do something if you're Nick Sorensen to just not be completely embarrassed. The 49ers have been over the past 2 weeks, and they have been embarrassed. There's no way around that. The Bills were coming off a bye week. So the reason I say a lot of this was predictable, and I go back to the fatigue discussion, everything lined up for the 49ers to be a tired, defeated football team on that field yesterday, especially the fact that Buffalo had an extra week of rest. But you can enter a game beleaguered, and you could still fight, and you could still put up respectable statistics. I mean, we saw it across the league. The Seattle Seahawks were facing a New York Jets team coming off a bye week. The Rams were facing a New Orleans Saints team coming off a bye week. I understand that the Bills are an elite team at the very top of the league, but you still got to keep things contained. I go back to 2020 where the 49ers lost to the Bills. Obviously, a lot of parallels between the 2020 season and the 2024 season. That was the year in Arizona where the 49ers were beaten down, beleaguered as well. But they showed up and they fought against Buffalo. They didn't have a pass rush that year. There was no Nick Bosa that season, tore his ACL, just like we see now. Josh Allen through the air really, really damaged the 49ers. I think they put up 34. 49ers the other way, put up 24. There still was fight that year, though, from the 49ers defensively, and I saw it through a good run defense or a solid run defense in 2020. When the run defense falls through the floor the way that it has this year for the 49ers, you're not going to have a chance. So, A, they absolutely have to fix the run defense moving forward. If there was something that the 49ers saw break their way yesterday, it was the run offense. We can go back to the 49ers depth chart now and see what went right for them. I'm really excited to rewatch the tape of this game to see what Ben Barch was able to do at left guard. They decided to go to Barch over Burford, over Nick Zakel to replace Aaron Banks, who had a concussion. Several nice blocks for Ben Barch early. You know, there's so many people that just love to scream about the offensive line. It was not the problem for the 49ers in this game. They opened up holes running the football. Even after Christian McCaffrey got hurt, Jordan Mason had some running room. Hell, Kyle Juszczyk from the 4-yard line. He was all the way near the goal line before Taylor Rapp punched that ball out. I think we might see more of Ben Barch. This is going to be really interesting. They picked him up off of Jacksonville's practice squad last year. They poached Barch off that practice squad. I think that he gave the 49ers some of their best left side interior blocking of the season yesterday. I think Jalen Moore has done a good job filling in for Trent Williams over the past 2 weeks. The problems along the 49ers offensive line against Green Bay happened elsewhere. Yesterday, the O-line wasn't the issue. They found their stride, and because of it, Christian McCaffrey had some running room. Christian McCaffrey wasn't washed. Christian McCaffrey fully had his burst. He just needed some running room. He got it, then unfortunately, he suffered the PCL injury yesterday. So from an offensive perspective, the 49ers definitely still have the structure, the framework to move the football, to run the football the way that they need to. That obviously hadn't been consistently happening over the weeks leading into this game, but I think it happened yesterday. They just were never given a chance defensively. So to re-energize, you have to continue hammering away at the same formula offensively. You can't use a snow game where obviously the 49ers were unable to execute some of the things they need to execute. You can't use a snow game as a data point to say that this is not happening on the right track offensively. They were fine up front. They were fine with the run game. Now, receiving wise, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the 49ers build the receiving core next year. Ricky Pearsall has not been targeted in 3 straight games. So he's going to have to make that second year jump. He's going to have to become integrated in the offense in a way that he has not been integrated ever since the game against Tampa Bay, where he was a key weapon for the 49ers. Again, I'm not going to read too far into a snow game, but the future of Deebo Samuel is fascinating to me because he clearly still has that burst and that juice. When you saw it on 2 kick returns yesterday, you don't execute like that, especially in the snow on kick returns, if you don't have the speed. But the 49ers have so many questions, not only from a salary cap perspective, but also from where's Brandon Ayuk going to be coming back from the ACL tear next season. Juwan Jennings, they have him at a bargain. He's produced big time for the 49ers this year. So he's obviously good enough to be at least a number 2 for this football team. But where is he going to fit into the whole mix with planning for Deebo Samuel? Because Deebo Samuel still does have an extra year under contract. Jacob Cowing, I think he's showing some juice now as the punt returner, but can you show some juice as an actual wide receiver? That's going to be a big test of the 2024 draft class and a necessary youth infusion, as is the Ricky Pearsall situation. We all know that Purdy's a good quarterback, right? So it's going to be about making sure that there's the right mix around him moving forward. And they still have a lot of really good pieces. I still think that the offensive line is a lot better than people have given it credit for. We do know, I've talked about the issues at center this year. I think that's a spot that Kyle Shanahan does try to upgrade over the offseason, just given his history going after good centers. But it's the defense where the bottom has fallen out, and it's the defense where I think that the 49ers are going to need the complete overhaul. And it's the defense that can most immediately be buoyed by more success on this front, and that is the draft front. 2024 draft was really interesting because you got a couple of immediate starters in Malik Mustafa and Renardo Green. That's helped make the 49ers secondary, I think, the strong suit of this team. But the 2023 draft, that's where it's been much more problematic. Jair Brown played a horrible game last night. Jair Brown was your top pick in that 2023 draft. They're running at Jair Brown over and over and over again. There's so much talk about the 49ers run defense being bad. I mean, that's what I've focused on over the course of this show. But the defensive line, I don't think, is majorly responsible for a lot of the run game issues. I think that I'm going to verify this on tape, but so many times the 49ers just struggled to get the perimeter when it was a DB who was tasked with having to execute a perimeter stop. So whether it be Charvarius Ward on the first touchdown from Buffalo, just didn't get to the edge, whether it be Jair Brown unable to get to James Cook. I mean, Buffalo was burning the 49ers to the perimeter, and you need your second-level defenders to do a better job defending the run, and the 49ers just didn't do that. So, that goes back to 2023. They needed Jair Brown to step into that safety position and be somebody who was sealing the edge, who was coming flying down, notching the tackles they needed. Without Hufanga this year, without Deshaun Gibson this year, I mean, they have Gibson now back on the roster, but it's been Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa playing. I think Mustafa has clearly been the superior player, and offenses are going to attack a weak link. I think Jair Brown against the run has been a definite weak link. We'll see if they get anything out of Darrell Luter next season. They're actually high on him as a cornerback prospect. He's on IR now. He's obviously had those special teams mishaps for the 49ers over the course of his first 2 years, but they're going to need to replenish in that cornerback room, which they've already done a decent job of. I mean, you've seen Renardo Green and how he's delivered for the 49ers, and Diamaro Lenora signed that contract, but Charvarius Ward may not be with this team beyond 2024, and it's going to be up to that 2023 class, potentially with Darrell Luter Jr. to fill in some of those holes. So far, they just haven't gotten enough out of 2022 and 2023. They've gotten enough out of 2024, and the book is still open to see exactly how much they will get, but they need more from this youth to augment what this very, very fatigued core can bring to the table. I wrote on X a few minutes ago before we went live. I went through the 49ers checklist moving forward and the way out of this. These are my three things. The 49ers star core, which is still capable. I think it's clearly still capable. You look at Deebo Samuel and his burst on some of these kick returns. I mean, there's still juice there. That star at Christian McCaffrey, there was still juice there. If I'm the 49ers, I'm fully confident that Christian McCaffrey was able to come back from the Achilles to deliver at the level that we saw for that brief glimpse last night. I'm fully confident that a Christian McCaffrey that's still under 30 years old, he's one of the greats to play the running back position, can re-energize with proper rest and recovery. The star core needs rest and recovery, period. That stretches to somebody like Trent Williams, who's obviously under contract for quite some time after the 49ers redid his deal. It goes to George Kittle as well. He's got to be fresh and ready to go. He's gone through this season better than last in terms of injuries, but all these guys need rest and recovery, from the injured guys to the guys that are beaten up. This is still a very capable core, but they need to enter a season not following 60 games in 3 seasons. And it looks like they're going to have that chance next season. I think that Kyle Shanahan needs a rest and reset too. Finally, the 49ers tried to run some screen passes, and some of them were effective yesterday. But Brock Purdy has still attempted the fewest screen passes in the league. And that's the one statistic. And, there's going to be a couple more that I share with you. But that's one of the statistics that I point to when I say, this Kyle Shanahan offense has not been the Shanahan offense of the past. The fact that they're last in the league in yards after the catch ties right in with the lack of screen passes. And it shows you that, something that had been the 49ers hallmark under Shanahan, they had actually led the league in yards after the catch in seasons prior to this one. The fact that they've dropped from 1 to 32 shows that Kyle Shanahan is not ahead in his chess match with opposing defensive coordinators. So I think that Kyle Shanahan needs a rest and reset too. I think that's what is going to be necessary for Shanahan to regain his fastball. There's going to have to be some serious self-evaluation. Maybe somebody like Clint Kubiak is back on staff. The entire staff, and this includes the offense. It's the defense that's seen the bottom totally fall out, but the offense is struggling too. There's going to have to be a hard look in the mirror, a staff revamp, and a chance for the 49ers to make up ground following what's been a brain drain. They've lost a lot of coaching talent year after year after year. So I think that the 49ers still have the star players capable to tug the boat. I think they still have some of the coaching talent capable, starting with Shanahan, to be the locomotive of the train. But there needs to be a rest and a reset with both of those entities to allow the 49ers to be their best selves again moving forward. But that is not the entire formula. The star core of a football team, even when it's fully healthy, only comprises, 8, 9 roster spots? And there are 53 active roster spots on a team. So it's all about the depth of a football team, and that's where we go to the list that sits right beside me. The 49ers absolutely have to hit on the 2025 draft class. I do think that they hit on the 2024 class, but given all the injuries, given the exhaustion to the star core and to the coaching staff, and obviously everything that's gone wrong this season, sometimes that just happens in sports. Given all that, the 2024 class was not enough to counterbalance things. So 2025 has to add energy, and maybe the 49ers can still scrape some value out of 2023 as well. Maybe somebody like Darrell Luter Jr. can splash onto the scene. Maybe Jake Moody can be better in 2025 than he was in 2024. I mean, and D. Winters, I think we've seen some promise from him. I don't think the book has totally closed on D. Winters yet. And that nice pass breakup against DK Metcalf a couple weeks ago that I think was a step in the right direction type of play for D. Winters. So, I mean, there still is some hope for that 2023 class, but the 2025 class has got to augment 2024, and 2023, whatever they can get from that, can help the 49ers with depth. Obviously, a couple pointed free agent signings and trades or whatever you do this offseason will be important, but the retooling process really does rely on those three pillars for San Francisco moving into the 2025 season. So back to this. The 49ers season of hell freezes over in Buffalo. It was a loss that was predictable, but the total defensive collapse was certainly alarming for the 49ers. The cards have been stacked against them now, increasingly so on a week-by-week basis. Stuff has not gone right, as evidenced by the Christian McCaffrey duality, the difference between a potential season-saving touchdown and a potential season-ending injury. But at the core of everything, the 49ers just have a problem finishing this year, whether it be in games against the Arizona Cardinals, against the Los Angeles Rams, against the Seattle Seahawks, or whether it be in the red zone, where the 49ers have dropped from number 1 to number 27 offensively and from number 11 to number 31 defensively. They just have not finished. And finishing is tough when a team is fatigued. I think the 49ers have obviously been fatigued. This is something we've covered extensively. This has gone from the marathons that have ended in bitter disappointment. There hadn't been a Super Bowl win to buoy the 49ers forward over the past 3 years. There's been the drama of this offseason, right? The Brandon Ayuk holdout, the Trent Williams holdout, the Super Bowl hangover, if you will, that bled into the offseason for the 49ers. There's been the off-field stuff, the Ricky Pearsall shooting. That was something that I think drained the 49ers. Obviously, Charvarius Ward has dealt with off-field tragedy. It's just been one thing after another for the 49ers leading into an injury-filled campaign, and I think the injuries are related to all the fatigue and just the strain of the past few seasons. All of that adds up to a team that has just fallen off a cliff when it comes to finishing. And that was so perfectly illustrated yesterday by a couple plays. One, extremely bad luck. You have Christian McCaffrey bolting through the line, but then the shoestring tackle is what was the difference there. But then one where, it was just a great play from Buffalo and Taylor Rapp knocking the ball away and out of Kyle Juszczyk's hands, but it was just so perfectly encapsulating of the 49ers' inability to finish in both the red zone and in games in general. So when you have a team that's gone through as much as the 49ers have to reach this point of exhaustion, they have to find a way to re-energize. The Eagles couldn't finish last year. They've re-energized in 2025 or 2024. The 49ers couldn't finish this year. They're going to have to find a way to re-energize in 2025. 2024 is not over yet, though. They've got 5 games left to go, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they can conjure energy just to finish this stretch run. Kyle Shanahan said it yesterday. He's not worried about trying to string together 5 wins. He just try to string together 1 win. What's Brock Purdy going to look like now that he's not going to be playing in snow down the stretch run of the season? Contract negotiations await after that. What is the offensive line going to look like now that Ben Barch might be a part of the 49ers starting lineup moving forward? I thought that he actually was really, really impressive in terms of run blocking yesterday. That's probably somebody you want to give an extra look. Jalen Moore, you might want to give him an extra look before his contract expires. Let Trent Williams heal. I mean, Trent Williams was in a scooter, a knee scooter last week. I mean, that ankle isn't close to being healthy yet. So you let Trent Williams heal, and you see what you have in Jalen Moore. You see what you have with somebody like Ben Barch. You see who some of these important depth pieces, some of this important team fabric outside of the star core, see who could fill that role moving into 2025. How is that energy going to be generated here to end 2024 and carry over into the next season? And how's the coaching staff? Is Kyle Shanahan going to be able to start his self-evaluation now? Can he use some of these game plans that he builds over the next 5 weeks as self-evaluation that helps him rediscover his fastball moving into 2025? It's all about recalibrating. The 49ers were able to recalibrate after 2020, a season that saw all the injuries that really deflated the 49ers, and they were able to get things right by the back half of 2021. Well, they would like to get things right much sooner than that, but preferably by the front half of 2025 moving forward. So it's going to be all strategy for the 49ers moving forward. The chess match of the NFL never ends. And yesterday, their season of hell froze over in Buffalo. They were not at the level of the Bills, nowhere close to the level of the Bills who won their division. But guess what? When the 49ers won their division in 2022 and 2023, they did it in a very similar fashion to how the Bills did it against them yesterday. They dominated on the ground. I thought there was one really telling Brock Purdy quote. He said, the last couple of years, our mentality was coming out the games and being the enforcers, the dominators. So to have 2 games like this back-to-back late in the season, it sucks. Well, then you have to figure out how to become the enforcers and the dominators again. It's going to take some savvy additions for the 49ers, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to get back to that. It's going to take some rest. It's going to take a reset, and it's going to have to start from the very top. It's going to have to start with Shanahan and however he builds his coaching staff moving forward into 2025. I may have a couple of questions to answer. Mike, if there's anything I need to answer, well, actually, I have to check out of my hotel. So, no. Greetings from Buffalo. It wasn't pleasant for the 49ers, but it made for some cool snow visuals. Here's one final one from the game yesterday. Everybody, thanks for watching. We will talk to you soon.